The key to liquidity, avoiding liquidity squeezes, is managing liquidity, right? Meaning, this is something we learned ourselves. When we were getting into this business, we knew that we were in a liquidity crunch when that week we couldn't send out checks. There wasn't enough money in the bank to clear. That's a horrible way to do business. It doesn't work long term, right? Everybody does it in the beginning because you're stretched, you're one person, you're two people, you can't run it all. But the key is you have to manage your liquidity. Everyone at some point under budgets. A project's going to take more money than you think. The stabilization is taking longer, the construction took longer, you need more money. The key is just having enough time to foresee that and then go deal with it, right? As long as you're spending time forecasting your liquidity and analyzing how much are these overruns costing me, do I have enough cash to get me to the finish line, whether that's a sale or a refinance, as long as you're paying attention to that once a month, right? You don't have to do it daily, but even if once a month on your project you forecast your cash needs and you forecast your costs, what it will do is it will give you the time that if you realize you're short, whether it's 50,000, 500,000, or 5 million, right? As long as you realize it with enough time, you generally have options to go and work out your liquidity problems. Whether it's locate another investor to share in that project with you, right? The project is almost built, or if you're looking for more money for stabilization, maybe it's already all the way built. You can find an investor and say, look, I've already built the building. The risk of construction is gone. I'm short to get it to stabilization to refinance. Why don't you come invest with me and get me the liquidity that I need, right? You can take on additional financing. Potentially, you could refinance your senior loan and get an increased loan amount in order to meet that liquidity gap. You could potentially take a mezzanine loan, right, to go behind your senior loan for that liquidity gap. You could even take a preferred equity, which is an equity partner who just gets a fixed return and no share of the profit. There's lots of options, and there's very capable mortgage brokers all across the U.S. who can help advise and source those options for you. But the key is time, right? Nothing happens in 30 days. Nothing happens in 45 days, because if you're on those tight timelines, you'll never get any kind of let's call it a reasonable solution. You end up with a guy who wants to charge you 24% and wants your firstborn child. But if you give yourself the time, that 90, 120 days to work it out, you end up with a reasonable solution, a reasonable structure, as long as the underlying project you're working on continues to make sense.